So I showed you how to use in AC the RMS limiter, current limiter. Now we're going to switch to DC. So first I'm going to set up the PowerWave to DC mode. Leave it at the 30 volt. So at the 1 ohm resistor we should get 30 amps. On line 1, line 2 and line 3 the same voltage. And now I'm going to use still the continuous mode. So remember there's a stop mode. Stop mode means that as soon as the current limit is reached, the output is switched off. But I want to work in the continuous mode. And this time for DC, I'm not working on the RMS limiter, but I'm actually working on the peak limiter. The reason is the peak limiter is much faster, quicker in response. So in the peak limiter, basically the power wave becomes a current source instead of a voltage source. So I'm going to change it to peak limiter. I have it disabled, and you can see now there are two settings. So it's power source ICPK, so it's a current limiter for the charge in peak. Because we have two limiters, one is for charging, so when the power wave is in a source mode, and one for discharging when the power wave is in sink mode. Remember, it's a fully bidirectional source, so I can source and sink the power. Charge and discharge, for example, to when it's charging a battery or discharging a battery. So I have disabled now the charge peak limiter, as well as the discharge peak limiter, as well as the power limiter. So I set it now to 30 volt. It's applying the settings. 3 times 30 volt, and it's in DC mode. So on the oscilloscope, I have set it up to roll mode. So I'm going to switch it on. The output of the power wave, and on the oscilloscope, you should see then that the voltage goes to 30 volt. And the current is at 30 volt as well, 30 amps. You can see it here in the roll mode, right? So we have constant 30 volt, 30 amps. Now I'm going to enable the charge peak limiter. The voltage remains at 30 volt. So I'm going to enable the charge peak limiter, and I'm going to set it to 20 amps. Just on line 1, because at the moment I'm measuring line 1. And you can see on the oscilloscope that it went immediately down to 20 amps. So I can do the same. Set to 10 amps. And it goes down to 10. Set it to 5 amps. And it goes to 5 amps. So the current limiter in peak is very accurate. It can go down to below 3 amps. The accuracy is more or less 1 amp. So remember, the power wave per line on DC can output up to 333 amps. And now we are using it basically as a constant current source, generating 5 amps. So a very wide application range and dynamic range. So we can use it as a current source from 3 amps up to 333 amps. So that's 1% dynamic range. So we're down at 1% use now. Okay, so to disable the limiter, I just go here, disable it, and the current goes up to 30 amps DC as expected.